It is Thursday, March 21st, 2024. This is another edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by our friends over at Factor. That is not my man, Trevor Plouffe. That is the John Boy Media MVP, Jolly Olive. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan along for the ride as well. Plouffe off enjoying the last few days of freedom before the full regular season gets going. Jolly, it's good to have you back. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Someone pointed out in the comment section that I'm always introduced as not your man, which if you clip it out, it kind of seems mean. So I think we got to switch that up, Rosie. I don't know.
Well, but I called you the John Boy Media
Oh,
MVP.
I
Which one would you
know, but
rather be?
I can spin that editing magic and make it seem like we're enemies.
Oh my God. Will you stop that? Let's not don't let people get on you like
Sorry.
that. No, no, no. You are family and we appreciate it. You'll be
Thanks,
hanging
Rosie.
out here today and on Monday. We cannot wait. And you know what? My belly is empty.
Whoa.
It needs a visit from my friends over at Factor, which creates delicious, ready to eat meals. Every fresh, never frozen meal, it is chef crafted, it is dietitian approved, it is ready to go in just 2 minutes. You take that fork of yours, you puncture a couple of holes in that plastic, you heat it up in the microwave, and off you go. You'll have over 35 different options to choose from every week, including Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. And there's more than 60 add-ons to help you stay fueled up throughout the day. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to factormeals.com/baseball50. Use that code baseball50 to get half off. You will be feeling great. And coming up at the end of the show, we will have our Factor question of the week as well. But let's get going with the question that everybody is talking about, not only in the baseball world, but in the sporting globe. What the hell is going on with Shohei Ohtani? His best friend and interpreter, Ipe Mizuhara, fired Wednesday by the LA Dodgers while they were playing over in Seoul, South Korea, following a reported gambling issue. There are a ton of questions about this, including why $4.5 million was transferred from Ohtani's bank accounts to cover possible debts with an illegal bookmaker who is under federal investigation in Southern California. Now, Shohei's attorney says their client is a victim of fraud and massive theft, and Ohtani is reportedly not the center of a Major League Baseball gambling investigation. What was your reaction to this story when it came out, Jolly?
I mean, I was on the train home from work yesterday where I got the notification, and all I wanted to do was just kind of get all the information that I could because it's such a unique scenario, a story that I think is going to be, elongated throughout the entire MLB season. This is not going away anytime soon. And I feel like we only really have part of the story right now. I mean, what I relied on mostly was a great article by Tisha Thompson from ESPN to try and just get a timeline of the events. And I think that'll be the most helpful thing we can do for our Baseball Today audience today. Basically, the crux of the scenario is that Mizuhara told ESPN that he asked Ohtani to pay off $4.5 million of gambling debt. They reported that in transfers. They found Shohei's name on two separate $500,000 transfers. So there was money moving to bookies here. And of course, in California, sports betting is not yet legal. So I think that's the biggest issue right now. But now there's differing stories from both sides. Apparently, there was a tell all interview by Ipe, and then a day later, that story was retracted. And Shohei's lawyers came back and said that he was lying and that there was a grand theft here. So I don't really know what to believe. I think we're not being told the whole truth. And I don't really think baseball has seen something like this, of this magnitude, with this, talented of a player since the Pete Rose scandal decades ago. So it's very difficult to wrap my head around right now.
Um, I think I retweeted holy, and then I used a bunch of different slashes, question
Sure.
marks, whatever. I am sad. I am stunned. And I really am confused on so many levels. Here's the number one thing. The Dodgers, after game 2 of their regular season on Thursday morning, did not let Shohei talk to the media. And I understand that, right? He's just parted ways with his best friend and his interpreter since he came over to the States, and even before that.
Right.
So he is, I'm sure, shocked, confused, doesn't know what to say, doesn't know how to say it. So I'm okay with that. What we need here is baseball to take on a leadership role, which unfortunately, baseball is devoid of leadership. One of the things Rob Manfred does not do well is speak in front of a camera. He never has. I think baseball, the minute they made him the next commissioner of the sport, should have gotten him PR classes, and I'm not joking,
Sure.
in order to handle specific situations just like this. And he won't. And he won't speak in front of the media. And it's at a time when we need to. Why? Because this just isn't an accusation against any old dude. And it's not just that a reported $4.5 million went from Shohei's account to somebody else's. This is the number one player in the sport and a global sporting icon at the center of a controversy. You can't just issue a one-sentence report that says, well, he's not the center of a Major League Baseball investigation. That is not good enough. The sport should stop today, and Rob Manfred has to get in front of a camera and has to face questions right now. Now, some of the answers might be, hey, guys, there is an investigation ongoing, and I can't answer that. But he has to come out and say, here's the reason Shohei is not being investigated by our league, and we're comfortable with what has transpired. Because if not, then it's just going to float out there, and it's going to be for all these morning shows that don't give a shit about baseball to feast on and to start connecting dots. I saw Craig Carton say that he needs to be suspended because of this. Like, to me, that's extremely irresponsible because we don't know where this lies right now. But those are the type of stories that are going to reign supreme in the national media until somebody in Major League Baseball gets in front of a camera and starts answering some damn questions.
No, I fully agree. And I mean, you're in a scenario where you're leaving fans and media personalities and commentators to put pieces together and distribute information that way. I mean, either way, a crime has been committed here. If it's this grand theft claim that Ohtani's lawyers are claiming happened, then Ippei could be facing possible jail time. If it's the other way, if Ohtani was bailing him out illegally, then he's in hot water as well. And I'm sure that's what they want to avoid. But the crazy thing here is that even before Ohtani, Mizuhara has been a part of Major League Baseball. He was Hideki Okajima's interpreter on the Red Sox in 2013. He translated for Chris Martin when he went overseas to Japan, and that's how he, formed his partnership with Ohtani, a partnership that's lasted a decade now. And this isn't just, a formality, a work relationship. These are two friends. When the lockout happened and, staff and coaches weren't allowed to interact with players, Ippei quit his job so that he could still interact with Ohtani on a daily basis, and the Angels rehired him once the lockout ended. Like, they circumvented that so they could maintain their relationship. So in that vein, it's hard not to speculate, and part of me is speculating that we're being lied to in some capacity, because I don't know that, seeing them interact yesterday and be all friendly in the dugout and all that, I don't believe that this all came together in a 12-hour span, that Ippei was stealing money from Ohtani. And you don't even have to get into the logistics of how hard that would be to do for someone of his high profile and, his wealth. So I'm hoping that there's some kind of statement from Ohtani or the Dodgers or the commissioner or something, because the longer this wades in the water and the longer we're fed little bits of information, the more likelihood there is that we're going to be given misinformation in some capacity, or some kind of speculation will be taken as truth and spread that way. And it's a very dangerous scenario for everybody involved, and also the fans of the sport. So it's very upsetting, obviously, and I'm hoping that a week from now we have far more clarity than we do right now.
We don't even know who's being accused of fraud.
Right.
I mean, to me, that's and theft. We don't know. No dots have been connected for us at all. And so we are just sitting there guessing. And with every post on social media and every talking head that starts throwing out possibilities, the story just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Major League Baseball's problem for years has been when there is an issue to run and hide, to curl up in a little ball and hope that people move on to the next story. That has been their defense mechanism. That's not going to work here. It is not going to work. I'm telling you, I watched the morning shows on Wednesday after game 1 of the Major League Baseball regular season. There wasn't a word about it.
Right.
Nobody talked about it. Guess what? I checked all the clips today. You know what they were talking about? Shohei Ohtani. And not for all the good reasons that he gives us to talk about him. So, Major League Baseball, please do something. I know this country's looking for leadership. This sport is looking for leadership. Shock the hell out of all of us and provide some, please.
Well put.
Can't believe we had to talk about that. There was a game.
Yeah, there was baseball played today.
It's the reason I'm wearing a Padres hat. Way to go, Padres. Way to get a W on the board. I know that 8th inning in game 1 of the season series did not finish well, but this one did. They jumped out to a 5-0 lead after a half inning, a 9-2 lead, got down to 1 run in the 8th inning, and then the Padres exploded. Manny Machado, another homer for him. 15-11 was your final. Teams combined for more than 30 hits. There were a lot of pitches thrown. It was interesting to say the least. So good for the Padres who get on the board. Both teams are 1-1 as they head back to the States. The big deal was Yoshinobu Yamamoto making his major league debut, and it lasted all of 1 inning as he gave up 5 runs. How concerned should Dodger fans be after he had an ERA of nearly 8.5 in the spring and then this debacle?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I'm not too worried because I do think Yamamoto's stuff today, even if it was getting hit around, is still good and still shows plenty of potential and promise. And you better hope it does, because this is a long-term contract, a very lucrative contract. I think it was a little bit of nerves, and that's a little bit of speculation as well. But I think if we look at pitch data, we can kind of see that come to fruition, because he wasn't able to throw his splitter for a strike at all. He threw it 8 times. He threw 6 balls, got 1 foul ball and 1 ball in play. So he wasn't getting any swing and miss on that, and that's one of his better pitches. I don't think it was a velocity or a tipping issue. He was sitting at around 95 to 96 on his fastball, which is kind of his thing. He has the shorter height, so the fastball plays up because he's throwing it on a flatter plane. But roughly 20 of his 43 pitches landed in the waste zone of the strike zone, meaning they were non-competitive, just balls that major league hitters could take with ease. And I have one stat here that I couldn't believe when I read it. I want to shout out Yakayu Cosmopolitan, who's a great Japanese baseball content creator. He said that Yamamoto only failed to complete 5 innings pitched twice in 118 career starts in the NPB. Wow. He only allowed 5 or more earned runs 6 times, and he did both of those things today in his first major league start. So I think it was a little bit of a case of the nerves, but also a little bit of the case of, things are different now. You're facing major league quality hitters. These are more complete lineups, and I think there's going to be a little bit of growing pain for him. But seeing the year that Kodai Senga had last year, I have no doubt that Yamamoto will get his feet under him and start to produce quality starts.
Listen, all arrows are pointed in his direction, because when you come over in your mid-20s and you're already the highest paid pitcher in the history of the sport without having thrown a pitch that counts over here, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so he even admitted during spring training, he's like, listen, I am not a finished product here. And that's not what fans want to hear. I think it's a very fair assessment. I love it when people are honest, and I'm okay with it. Like, I'm okay with him not being a finished product. You know when the Dodgers need him to be a finished product by? Like August.
Yeah.
I think they won't come out and say it, but they're willing to deal with the learning curve of being over here, of living in a foreign country, of dealing with a new culture, of all that sort of stuff that we who grew up here in the States don't ever think about, right? Think about, how hard it was for you if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, I don't care how old you are, but you lived away from home for the first time. That shit's scary. Now go live in another country where you don't understand the language, you don't get the food, you don't understand anything, the traffic sucks, then throw everything else, and you got to be at your best. Now, I know that's why he's paid handsomely, but that shit, it ain't easy, man. It ain't easy. So it's all just, I'm not making excuses. All I'm saying is this is part of his journey. Now, if he's still doing this and hasn't come up with gems and it's August, then I got something else to say about it. One start, some bad spring training starts, even a bad month of April, I'm fine.
Yeah, and it was also just a perfect storm of Dodgers cloudiness between the Ohtani story and this. I think all eyes were on him, and there's a certain amount of pressure. And, you can take some grace and looking at the other side and seeing a great pitcher like Joe Musgrove also struggle on this big stage. I said this to you before the show. This kind of reminded me of the Yankees-Red Sox game in London a few years ago that went like 18-15 or something. I'm not sure if there was some juice in the balls or whatever, or just nerves in the air and some meatballs thrown over the plate, but a lot of fireworks in this game. Mookie Betts casually with 4 hits and 6 RBIs. I think my main takeaway from this 2-game series, which I think everybody and their mother expected to be a split, because that's just every 2-game series ever, is that, these bullpens, they can be deep, but they got exhausted pretty quick. in this series. So there's a lot of hitting talent on both of these teams, and I'm excited to see them link up back in the States.
We will leave you with this note about Yamamoto's debut. It is the shortest outing by a Dodgers starter making his major league debut since Ralph Mariello in 1958.
Didn't have that name in my book.
Do you want to know one other thing about Ralph Mariello?
Of course.
It was one of his 2 career starts.
Oh.
He only pitched in 1958, and he threw a career 11 2/3 innings.
Do you think he was up for that 10-year, $300 million contract at any point before those starts?
Well, this was pre-arbitration.
Okay.
So, and he didn't have much leverage back in the day.
Right.
There you go. So the family of Ralph Mariello, if you thought you were going to get mentioned at some point on baseball today, you're welcome.
He's dancing in his seat right now.
I don't know if Ralph's still with us. I'll have to check.
Let's leave it to the mystery.
It's better that way.
Yeah, I think so.
We love everybody tuning in. Thanks so much for joining us, as we are also live every day. I also want you to tune into a new podcast and a video series that you're not going to want to miss. It is called The Deal. It is co-hosted by none other than former Yankees legend Alex Rodriguez. Now, each and every week, A-Rod and Bloomberg reporter Jason Kelly, they speak with big-time athletes and entertainers and executives. They'll talk to the likes of Maria Sharapova, Michael Strahan, Derek Jeter, and much more. And The Deal takes you behind the scenes into the world of sports, media, and entertainment. It does a deep dive into the wins and the losses and the lessons learned along the way. And A-Rod's got plenty of those, right? From being a number 1 overall pick in the early 90s to having a ton of success in Seattle, to signing the richest deal in the sport in Texas, to winning MVPs there, to being traded to the New York Yankees, to eventually winning a World Series, to being suspended. So he has seen the highs and the lows of all of this sort of stuff. And say what you want about A-Rod, he is a tremendous storyteller. It comes your way from Bloomberg Podcast and Bloomberg Originals. You can listen to The Deal on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcast. So do that today. I want to finish with this as we close out the first ever Major League Series that headed to Seoul, South Korea. Good or bad idea to start the season there?
I think good idea. I mean, I saw some comments about how, MLB's not marketing the game because their first game's of the season at 6 a.m. or whatever. I think it's important to remember that the Seoul Series isn't necessarily for the American baseball audience, who are all going to be tuning in a week from now on the formal opening day. I think it's important to really appreciate the Korean and Japanese baseball communities that come together and watch Major League Baseball year in and year out. I honestly think this is something we should do more often. I mean, I have the privilege to talk to Jerry Blevins pretty often, and he was a part of this kind of unique series when he was a player with the Oakland Athletics. And he said it was one of the best experiences of his career. And I think it's important for the players to have this kind of experience, to see the other side of baseball, because baseball is, a global sport. And I think we should recognize it that way. And you saw the reception that players like Ha-Seong Kim got playing in front of their home crowd for the first time in probably several years. So I was really heartwarmed to see the crowds going nuts and them getting entertained by this quality of game today. And, it's at the end of the day, it's 2 games that you wake up early for. The rest of the 162 are going to be at a normal time for all of us. I think we can sacrifice that and allow these communities to get their day in the sun.
I will say this. When it's 6 a.m. your time, it's 3 a.m. my time.
Oh, yeah, it's tough.
Now, I did wake up at 3:52 a.m. for Game 1. Game 2, my eyes opened up, and it was like 5:40. And
it was already 9-2.
What did I miss? And, yeah, actually, at that point, I want to say it was like 9-8 or 9-7. I don't know what it was. I checked my phone. I was like, my eyes are blurry. I'm like, wait, what is this? I'm trying to twist the phone. So here's the thing, though. What was the goal? Okay, what was your goal? Was it to get people in Seoul to understand that we are the greatest league in the world when it comes to a sport that you really enjoy? I felt like games that I've watched in Japan popped more through the TV than the ones in Korea. And I don't know if you felt that way or not.
No, I think I agree with that, yeah.
Okay. It's also been a few years since I watched just 2 major league teams participate in Japan. Like when I watched the World Baseball Classic, that was a different animal, right? That was crazy. So and then I tried to equate it to, well, what sport could come over here where you get two really good teams and America is going to embrace the sport? I mean, is it soccer? If we get two great soccer teams, and then will the place go nuts? I think they would.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what the goal was here. Like, it wasn't to start off the season in style because nobody reported that the season even started. Most
Right.
people, we get it, but we're diehard baseball fans. So most people did not know that the baseball season started yesterday. They had no idea. And I do find it weird. I've always found it strange that teams start over in the Far East or in Australia, like the Dodgers did a bunch of years ago against the Diamondbacks, I believe. And then they come back and they play more exhibition baseball games before the season. It's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, MLB is trying this kind of expansive play with their New Mexico series. We're going back to London with the Mets and the Phillies and the Soul series, of course. I think maybe it would have worked better if it was later in the season, although I don't know how hard that would have been to orchestrate, considering that long flight and considering the grueling travel nature of an MLB team. So I think this was the time to do it. Maybe it didn't work to perfection for whatever they were striving for. But I think in my heart of hearts, I covered a lot of Japanese and Korean baseball on my own channel. And I was just happy to see those superstars, get to play in front of an Asian crowd.
Yeah, I'll be curious to talk to both Miguel Rojas and Tyler Glass now, who are family members of the Chris Rose rotation, about their experience over there.
Yeah,
Can't
totally.
wait to do it. Aaron Judge was back after missing nearly a week and a half, and he doubled in his first at bat. Of course, he's got that abdominal issue that he was dealing with. But Giancarlo Stanton stole the headlines, a 3-homer, 8 RBI game. Yankees fans can choose one of these, or even the Yankees, just one of these hypotheticals. You could have Aaron Judge play at least 140 games or have Giancarlo Stanton guaranteed to hit at least 35 homers. Now, here's the deal. If you pick Judge, Stanton will not hit more than 25 homers. And if you pick Stanton, Judge won't play more than 132 games. So that means he'll miss at least 30 games.
Okay.
Which scenario are you going with?
Let me ask you this first. If I pick Judge, is Stanton healthy the whole season and in the lineup every day?
You tell me. He's not going to hit more than 25 homers.
Because if he's not hitting more than 25 homers and he's playing every day, then it's kind of similar to the last 2 seasons where he's a net negative and he's clocking up the DH spot. So it really does become a matter of, do you think the supplemental talent on the Yankees is enough to offset any kind of Judge injury? And I'm going to say I think that it is. I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate. I'll be unconventional, and I'll pick Stanton in this scenario, because if Juan Soto is what we all expect him to be, and they get some standout performances from guys like Verdugo and Grisham and DJ LeMahieu is healthy, there's a lot of, ifs, ands, or buts with the Yankees lineup considering injuries. But if they can get Soto and Stanton to be high producers, then Judge missing 30 games, I don't think would be, a crisis scenario like it has been in past seasons. Like we saw him go down last year and their season pretty much ended after that. I think that a healthy, productive, athletic Stanton plus, Juan Soto and his MVP potential could be enough to offset that. Whereas, Judge playing a full season it's an obvious advantage in its own right, but when you have dead weight in your DH spot, clogging up that spot and not allowing guys to get load manage or rest stays in there at DH, I think that's a huge negative that kind of clouds your entire season. So I think I'll take Stanton in this scenario.
Yeah. I had fun crafting that question. I was like, originally I was just going to do a Judge question, and then when Stanton went off, I was like, oh, this could be interesting.
Yeah, you never know.
Juan Soto changes the entire equation here. Like, I think I'd be okay with Judge. I can't believe I'm saying this. Think about it. Like, we're okay with Aaron Judge maybe missing close to a fifth of the season.
Doesn't affect me.
Well, I know it doesn't, but you understand what I'm getting at.
Oh, of course. In
addition to you rooting for the Mets and me rooting for the Guardians, we're huge baseball fans, right. And I love Aaron Judge. I'm a huge fan of his. I think he does shit the right way. And on top of that, you've never seen a beast like that in a batter's box. So the sport's better when he's there. I don't root for guys to miss time. I don't want to see it. And the fact that he played barely 100 games last year was horrible, because the Yankees weren't a bad offense. They were the worst offense in baseball without him. They were atrocious. That won't happen with Juan Soto there. That will not happen. So, yeah, he could miss 30 games. I could still get massive production from Giancarlo Stanton, who 5 times in his career has hit at least 35 homers in a season, and he's never had an OPS under 852 in any of those years. That means he's going to be productive.
Right.
So I'll take it. I'll
I
take
agree.
it. And I'd like to see Stanton do that because I want to see him become a 500 home run guy. And I think
Yeah,
he's got
he's the current all-time, or not
an
all-time,
active leader.
active leader in home runs now.
Yeah. Somebody asked what that's got to be the fewest for an active leader since when? Did you ever see? I never found the answer to that. If
I'm
somebody
not
wants to
sure,
throw,
but I think he's what, at like 402 or something?
yeah, low 400s.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just got past 400. All right, Michael Lorenzen finally has a home. He's off to
Ah.
Texas 1 year, $4.5 million reportedly. Could get another $2.5 million in incentives. My question is, did the champs do enough this offseason to give them the best shot at repeating?
Yeah, I like this question. We've done a little Rangers talk on my prior Baseball Today episodes. I
Mhm.
said that I had a little apprehension towards their rotation, especially the back half, but I really like the signing for them. Lorenzen pitched like 120 innings last year. He was an above league average ERA plus guy. I think he gives them some good insurance in case someone like Cody Bradford maybe doesn't work out in the rotation. He's something of a wild card or an unknown. An interesting tidbit I always bring up is that last year, the Rangers' strikeout leader among pitchers was Andrew Heaney. They basically had their elite level starting pitcher talent in the back half of last season. They got through to August with the guys that they already had on the books, and Eovaldi and Heaney and Dane Dunning as well. He got some starts for them. So I think with that similar roadmap, also John Gray bears mentioning as well, they can get to the point where guys like Molly and DeGrom and Scherzer maybe could come back and supplement the rotation. A guy like Lorenzen is really helpful because if you can take away 100 innings from a bullpen or a starter you maybe don't rely on for what, 4.5 million, which is well within their payroll. I think it's a great move, and it makes me believe in the longevity of the team a little bit more. That lineup is going to bang. I have no doubts about that. Even Wyatt Langford has like 6 spring training home runs.
Right.
He's going to be a part of that lineup too, in addition to Evan Carter and all the other established guys. So now the only thing that was giving me worry was the rotation. I feel a little bit better about it.
Yeah, don't be surprised if they get off to a really slow start. First of all, they're the champs, although
Hangover.
they have probably been the least talked about champion in quite a while. I mean, I don't remember much about the Royals in 2016, but they're just not. They're not. It's not a sexy team, right? It's not.
Wow.
Well, I'm just being honest here,
No,
right?
I agree. It's
They
just
also
kind of
shouldn't give
interesting
a
to think
shit.
about. They
They
shouldn't.
they shouldn't care about any of that stuff. They should go celebrate getting their rings in a week and enjoy that. And I think it's awesome for them. The advantage they do have, and that Chris Young has, is he has already made 1 trade or 2 trades for May, really 1, I would say. That's getting Corey Seager back. He's already made 3 trades for the back half of the year. He doesn't know when they're going to be consummated because we don't know when Scherzer, DeGrom, and Molly are going to be available. But nobody else has that in their holster. Nobody. Right. So if they can just get through the idea of dealing with everybody's best shot as a champ and trying to figure out how to piece it together, because really the only additions they made were to their bullpen. It was Robertson and Yates. They really didn't make many other significant moves. So they got to wait for these guys. They've got to wade through whatever issues they might have at the beginning of the year, and then they could be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Kirby Yates fan. I think his journey as a big leaguer is awesome. Robertson, of course, was a Met last year. I got to watch him pitch, but it's not the sexy bullpen additions you'd like, especially when the Astros on the other side added Josh Hader. And the Mariners are going to have a good bullpen because they have it every year. So pitching right now is really the only thing holding them back. But I like that you mentioned that they kind of haven't gotten a ton of love as the World Series winners, because I think that could aid a potential World Series hangover. If nobody's really caring that you guys went the distance and have this cool story of investing $1 billion in your middle infield and all the things that come with that, I think it might put a little bit of a chip on your shoulder and say, no, we are top dog. We should have won the AL West last year. We are going to do it this year, and we're going to go back and repeat. So I'm excited to watch the Rangers play. Just got to get 5 innings from your starters every day.
Hey, by the way, EB said Chris Rose isn't smarter than a 5th grader. I wonder why that is. You have to expand a little bit.
Wow.
You can't just say something and then just move on. Give us a little context.
What subject? Like
I don't
science? Know. I mean, I know you're good at English. You can
Not
speak
really.
it pretty well. You read.
Not really. I flunked freshman English.
Did you really?
My
Oh
first,
goodness.
we were on trimesters, not semesters.
Oh, okay.
and he didn't like my writing style, so he flunked me.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, my mother.
Let's have a word with him. My goodness.
Oh, the late. Well, I don't think he's with us.
Oh,
Remember, I'm old.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Schubert.
Him and that pitcher for the Dodgers from the 50s.
Yeah. All right, time right now for our factor question of the week. Once again, head on over to factormeals.com/baseball50. Use that code baseball50 to get 50% off. And we appreciate the question. This one from Chris Baltz, Baltz. Chris, good one here. Why don't MLB teams have expanded rosters for March or April? They used to expand rosters in September, which was dumb, and they fixed it. Why not have 5 extra roster spots until May to see what those players can contribute at the major league level when the team is still gelling? Jolly?
I mean, I said this to you before. I kind of love this idea. I never thought about it this way. And especially with MLB kind of pushing the spring breakout games a little bit and all the prospects getting a ton of love and hype. I mean, why not? A lot of these guys are going to kind of get left behind, unfortunately, because of roster crunch. We inched our way towards it with a little bit of an extra roster spot a couple years ago. Now it's the 26-man. But why not make it the 30-man for the first month and just see if the prospects catching fire in spring training are for real? I think it would be a lot of fun. It would help with, giving press to April baseball and stuff like that. And maybe, just maybe, some prospects could usurp some major league players given, a 30-game sample to actually get a run in there. So I like this idea a lot. I don't think they'll ever execute it in practice, but a good idea nonetheless.
No, it won't happen because Chris Bryant still needs work on his defense.
That's my friend now, Rosie. That's my friend.
Yeah, that is your buddy.
You watch it.
No, what I'm saying is that was the famous line that the Cubs used in order to suppress his service time.
Right.
So we can't start these guys' clocks at the end of March, right? You're going to lose a year to keep them. So it won't ever happen. But how awesome would it be to see Jackson Holliday and Paul Skeens out there for the first couple weeks of the year?
Yeah,
at the very least.
That highlight that I think the MLB YouTube channel posted, I'm going to look at it right now. Yeah, it's got 100,000 views on YouTube, and it's 2 guys that have never thrown a pitch or swung a bat at the MLB level. That's the kind of popularity these guys attain before they're even big leaguers. And speaking from a fan perspective, I was super happy when the Mets let Pete Alonso play in the first month of 2019, even though it meant that they sacrificed a year of service time. But because they did that, Pete got off to a hot start and he won Rookie of the Year probably because of that extra month. And that's the kind of potential and you could showcase with your top prospects.
And let's remember Machado and Hosmer walking into the owner's office in San Diego and saying, if Fernando Tatis Jr. is not on this roster, y'all are nuts. You don't want to win. So, hey, Chris, it's a great question. Got us thinking, and we appreciate it. Jolly, thank you as always for coming out of the bullpen. You are a wonderful mind at this company. I always love doing the show with you, and thank you very much. In fact, you were so good, you get to come back on Monday. How's that?
Oh, I'm so happy about that. Thank you so much. Yeah, this was a jam-packed ep, so I was happy to be here.
Once again, shout out to our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, and also for the John Boy Media Baseball Team MVP, Jolly Olive. I am Chris Rose. We will see you Monday on Baseball Today, presented to you by Factor.